The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, led on Thursday a meeting of the High Command of the Bolivarian Revolution with the officials elected on the regional and legislative elections of May 25th. In Brazil, BRICS countries approved in Brasilia a base document on climate finance during the high-level meeting on climate change and sustainable development. And Israel has ordered the closure of Al-Adwa hospital in Northern Gaza, forcing health authorities to relocate dozens of people who remain in the medical center. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. We now begin with the information. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, led on Thursday a meeting of the High Command of the Bolivarian Revolution with the officials elected on the regional and legislative elections of May 25th, with the presence of Vice President Delcy Rodriguez as well as ministers and other high-ranking officials. The meeting highlighted the work of the elected officials in their territories. For this, the Venezuelan president congratulated the governors for their victory and assured the entirety of the government cabinet is at their service to ensure the needs of their communities are met. Furthermore, the head of state highlighted how the results signify the rebirth of a new union for all Venezuelans without discrimination or distinction, a new age that can only be achieved through revolution.
And the people are standing, happy, working. Every time Chavismo wins, there is happiness, peace and tranquility in Venezuela. When the ultra-right and the extremism half raises its head and feels a little bit of power, they think this is the moment to play a joke on the country. But no, those times are behind us. Here, what is coming is times of stability, harmony, happiness, hard work, and many actual results for the country's prosperity.
And we stay in Venezuela as on Thursday, the Vice President of Hydrocarbons, Delcy Rodriguez, clarified that the license revoked by Washington's government on a U.S. company has not affected oil production. The Bolivarian nation continues to produce more than 1 million barrels of crude oil per day. The decision of the licenses, which the extremist opposition celebrated with the certainty that they would cause damage to the nation, has no place in the country's legislation. Venezuela has a constitution and an anti-blockade law that do not recognize these licenses. The speaker pointed out that the country respects agreements signed with partners and assured the audience that the oil fields are operating and producing normally. She provided a detailed summary during her speech at the Fede Industria Export in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. And while in other cities of Latin America, the popular self-built neighborhoods are expelled and destroyed, in Venezuela, they consolidate as spaces of resistance and organization that are now part of the urban tourist route. Let's see more in the following report.
In the heart of the city of Caracas, on one side of Rómulo Gallegos Avenue, this arch begins La Lucha, a popular neighborhood, which, far from being evicted by the government, today is part of the urban tourist route. Well, with the struggle of the people of the town, the few neighbors that were there, I understand, because when I was born it was already there, not like that, but it was already done. With self-construction? Yes, self-construction. Each one built his own. Some put their things of zinc, others of cardboard, others of wood, and so on. In the 1950s, dozens of families settled here, like thousands of neighborhoods throughout Latin America. Among others, my father was one of those who arrived well. Everyone built their own little house, you know, but by the end, look at what we have achieved. There are some beautiful houses here.
Y que se alternan con negocios, bodegas y
And alternating with businesses, warehouses and popular enterprises that visitors can visit on their own or together with the street leaders who organize the neighbors. We are already having the title of the lands, thanks to our revolution, because it is really thanks to the revolution that we have been receiving all these things, all these beautiful benefits.
Pero también gracias a la ayuda mutua.
But also, thanks to mutual aid and popular organization.
It helps the people. Well, that is why we were helping, because this is a sovereign fish. The kilo of gold fish is worth $4, and in those other places you can get it for $12, $13, and here it is for $. Well, the neighborhood is excellent, they buy, but it is on credit.
No es turismo de pobreza.
Is not poverty tourism. Is knowing how the Venezuelan people are resisting. It has served to unite the community. We are all happy. We are happy united because we know that what is coming is good for the improvement of the whole community and person.
Entre sus callecitas está Susana.
Among its small streets, there is Susana. At 106 years old, she is a living bastion of the recent history of Venezuela and a source of pride for her community. She was a worker, a parent, and worked in family homes. Among them I carry my President Chavez, that every day in the world I tell him when I am killed or die and God calls me, that my President Chavez goes with me in my coffin. Because he was a man that gave me a lot of advice. We all went out together in a van, all together to drink, with the propaganda and do all that.
Un sueño socialista por el que Susana trabajó.
A socialist dream for which Susana has worked since she was young, and that today, with more than a century of life, can finally live in her own struggle, and that of all her neighbors.
Jesús Romero y Paola Drachnik, teleSUR, Venezuela.
Now we have a short break coming up, but be sure to follow us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Brazil, BRICS countries approved in Brasilia a base document on climate finance during the high-level meeting on climate change and sustainable development. The text establishes guidelines for joint actions by the countries of the Global South on climate finance and seeks to strengthen efforts towards COP30 to be held in November in the Brazilian city of Belém. The bloc also agreed to facilitate the use of patients and technologies related to climate change and to establish a joint platform for research and technology development focused on climate solutions. The BRICS Leaders Framework Declaration on Climate Finance, approved on the level of deputy ministers, will now be submitted to the heads of state of the bloc. And almost 415 people died in El Salvador's prison since President Nayib Bukele introduced the state of emergency. This was announced at a press conference in San Salvador, the capital of the country, on Thursday by several human rights organizations. Representatives of the Human Rights Commission and lawyers from the Tutela Legal María Julia Hernández organization claim that measures intended to combat violence gangs have evolved into tools of social control. They claim that President Bukele's government has suspended constitutional guarantees in order to commit serious human rights violations, resulting in the imprisonment of 85,000 people in less than 3 years. The National Electoral Council officially called for general elections for Sunday, November 30th of this year. More than 6 million citizens make up the definitive list of voters for the next general elections to be held on that date. In that moment, the President of the Republic, the 3 presidential appointees with the functions of Vice President, and the 128 deputies and other alternates to the National Congress will be elected in both cases for the period of 4 years from 2027 to 2031. In this way, the President of the National Electoral Council, Cosette Lopez, affirmed that all necessary measures are being taken to guarantee the holding of the elections in a peaceful and clean manner. And we go now to Mexico, as President Claudia Sheinbaum has issued a decree reforming the federal firearms and explosives law, establishing new and stricter regulations on their use and possession. Among the main measures, it prohibits the manufacture of weapons using 3D printers and imposing harsher penalties for those who carry weapons without authorization. The decree, published in the Official Journal of the Federation, also regulates the use of armed vehicles adapted for armament and prohibits the sale and shipment of arms and ammunition through the Internet. In this sense, the Secretariat of National Defense will be in charge of authorizing the use of weapons and war materials, ensuring a stricter control over their distribution and use. Meanwhile, in the United States, the Department of Health and Human Services has found that former President Joe Biden's administration failed to investigate more than 7,300 allegations of child migrant trafficking. The figure was determined after agency officials submitted for analysis more than 65,000 reports on unaccompanied migrant minors that were left from Biden's administration. Investigations began last February, and since then, 18,868 cases have been processed. However, in addition to the over 7,000 reports of trafficking, 1,688 have yet to be examined regarding possible fraudulent sponsors in the reception of children, and another over 46,000 with leads on beneficiaries, staff, and the unaccompanied minors themselves. And in other news, the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hakan Fidan, during a visit to Kiev, proposed that Turkey host a landmark meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and U.S. President Donald Trump. Fidan suggested that such a summit, under the direction of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, could build on the recent rounds of Istanbul talks and help advance efforts to end the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The proposal follows Fidan's recent diplomatic engagement in Moscow and Kiev, as Turkey continues its efforts to mediate a peaceful resolution to the conflict. So far, no date or confirmation from all parties has been announced.
In the next stage, the leaders' meeting would be very good to achieve a long-term ceasefire, I honestly think.
Uzun süreli bir ateşkesin hayata geçmesi için çok iyi olur diye değerlendiriyorum açıkçası. Sayın Erdoğan'ın
We believe that it is possible to crown the first and second Istanbul talks with a meeting between Mr. Trump, Mr. Putin, and Mr. Zelensky under the leadership of Mr. Erdogan.
Mümkün olabilir diye değerlendiriyoruz açıkçası.
Now we have a second short break coming up, but first, remember you can join us on Facebook at teleSUR English, where you will find our top stories, special live coverages, and much more. Follow the page and activate notifications to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, Israel has ordered the closure of Al-Adwa hospital in Northern Gaza, forcing health authorities to relocate dozens of people who remain in the medical center. The Gaza Health Ministry described the push as a continuation of violations and crimes against the medical sector in the territory. It is important to note that Al-Adwa was the last operational hospital in Northern Gaza, according to health officials. On the other hand, the World Health Organization said that 97 people, including 13 patients, were still in the hospital. In this regard, the agency has announced that it had planned a mission for Friday to transfer patients to another center. Let's remember that Israel has been besieging and bombing hospitals across Gaza, killing more than 1,400 medical workers as well as patients. And Palestinians in the West Bank are facing a new wave of forced displacement as Israel approved a new plan to build 22 new settlements in the area. More on this in the following report.
Palestinians in the Tulkarem refugee camp in the Israeli-occupied West Bank loaded mattresses, blankets, refrigerators, washing machines, and other belongings onto vehicles on Thursday, before the planned Israeli demolition of their homes.
Our building consists of 4 floors. 4 families live there. There is coordination. Israeli soldiers only let 2 people from the family go in, out of 5 people. But as you can see, the Red Crescent took out a washing machine for us. It was a big struggle to get it out. They faced humiliation, insults, and were wronged after a struggle. Most of our belongings were brought outside the house, placed on the ground. They won't let them move it. What will 2 people be able to take? Nothing.
The Israeli military has been carrying out an operation in the West Bank over the past several months that displaced, at its height, approximately 40,000 Palestinians.
Even if we want to go back to our homes, there are no homes. There isn't even infrastructure. Our homes are not there. We might go just for visits to the place. The camp is uninhabitable because, as you can see, what the situation is like, there is no infrastructure, no health services, no homes. There are many who, if they decide to go back to their homes, they would find that half of the home had been destroyed. There are people whose homes are fully gone.
Israeli forces have emptied and largely destroyed several urban refugee camps in the northern West Bank, like Tulkarem and Shams, that house the descendants of Palestinians who fled or were driven from their homes in previous wars.
I have my house facing demolition, and I have my son whose house was threatened with demolition. My son left to Jordan with his family, and I couldn't remove our belongings. They used my house as a military barracks, and the Israeli soldiers used it for sleeping. The last time I went to my house, I unfortunately saw their underwear and dirt on the beds. This never happened in the 1948 war, or the Six-Day War of 1967.
With the announcement of settlements expansion, the number of displaced persons in the West Bank is expected to increase considerably. The Israeli government announced on Thursday that 22 new settlements will be built in the occupied West Bank, the largest expansion in decades, as raids and arbitrary arrests continue in the area.
And we now move on to other topics. In China, representatives from over 60 countries participated in the signing ceremony of the agreement for the creation of the International Court of Mediation. The event, presided over by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, was attended by nearly 20 international organizations, including United Nations. According to the Foreign Ministry of the Asian giant, after joint efforts, the negotiations of the founding treaty were concluded, and the nations agreed to locate the headquarters of the institution in Hong Kong. The new court is the first intergovernmental legal body dedicated exclusively to resolving international disputes through mediation, aiming to promote the principles of the United Nations Charter and strengthen multilateral mechanisms for the peaceful settlement of disputes. We go now to culture. Samba is a lively, rhythmic Brazilian dance that is often performed with festive Brazilian music. Let's find out more in the following report.
La samba es un género musical y un baile que personifica.
Samba is a musical genre and a dance that embodies the essence of Brazilian culture. It emerged between the late 19th and early 20th century in the suburbs of Rio de Janeiro, where the Afro-Brazilian communities gathered to celebrate their tradition and express their creativity. It's a fusion of African rhythms, European melodies, and indigenous elements. It's characterized by its melodies and lyrics that often deal with themes of love, joy, and daily life. The word samba is believed to have African roots, possibly derived from the term semba, which refers to a type of Angolan dance.
Que se refiere a un tipo de danza de Angola. Como danza, se caracteriza por sus movimientos enérgicos.
As a dance, it is characterized by its energetic movements, which often include sliding steps, turns, and undulating hip movements. The steps vary according to style and region, but generally involve quick and agile footwork. The colorful costumes, adorned with sequins and feathers, complement the beauty of the dance. The samba is danced in couples or in groups, and is often performed at carnivals and festivals. One of the most important characters of this dance is the portabandeira, a woman who carries the flag of the samba school. She is a respected figure in the community. There is also the Rainha da Bateria, or the Queen of the Drums, a beautiful and charismatic woman who parades at the front of the drums. The pasistas are also part of the procession. They are the dancers who parade in groups.
Son los bailarines que desfilan en grupos. En cuanto a la música, la samba se distingue por...
As for the music, the samba is distinguished by its syncopated rhythms. The main instruments include the guitar, the cavaquinho, which is a type of ukulele, the pandeiro or tambourine, which is used to mark the rhythm and add ornaments, a large double-headed drum called the surdo, used to mark the pulse, the tambourine, a small hand drum that creates fast and complex rhythms, a whistle called apito to give signals and mark, as well as other percussion instruments. The mestre sala is the director of the samba school, who leads the batería and coordinates the parade.
Que lidera la batería y coordina el desfile.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.